like marijuana, you like marijuana, we like marijuana too. I want to be a hippie and I want to get stoned on marijuana.
I gotta tell you, I first actually got into the legalization movement in 1997, and when I first put my first webpage together, when I was trying to figure out how to make autoplay or auto sounds, that was the song that I put on my website for like the first 6 months of my website's existence. That's the song you heard when my website came on. Oh, it goes.
Hey. Boss is calling.
And he's got the weed.
I wish. All he got is a garden. And he's using a hand jack.
This feels too low. All right, hey, thanks for coming, everyone. I still can't believe that we're having events like this in New Jersey. You know, I've been into this whole legalization movement since basically 1997. When I got busted, I mean, I thought marijuana should be legal long before I got busted. But you know, hey, you get arrested and you come out thinking a different way sometimes. And I can remember when I first got arrested, that very first arrest, thinking that this shit ain't right. The law's wrong, you know? I knew, I was 33 years old when that happened, and I knew how some of my friends got busted in 2021 and how it affected their lives. 22, 23 couldn't get a job because they were arrested. Whereas I got along pretty good until I was 33. So I knew what was in for me though. You know, now you're a felon, now you're caught. So I don't know, I think that arrest turned me into, from Ed Fortune to NJ Weedman, superhero to the potheads. You know, and you know, maybe it was just in my head. I don't know, people thought I was a weirdo. I thought I was a weirdo for a while. Now I don't feel that way. I feel like I'm a hero now. You know, I've been saying the same thing. Nothing's changed in anything I've said since 1997 or 1993. Here it is, 2014, and now the whole world's saying the same thing. Legalize marijuana. You know, again, this happening, just having an event like this in 1997 would have been unheard of. I mean, we had Christy Whitman there. You know, during Christy Whitman's administration, the 2C laws were strengthened here in New Jersey when it comes to legal. We never had a first-degree marijuana possession law until Christy Whitman came in and pushed it up. And I happen to be the first one charged with it too, by the way. In July of 1997, Christy Whitman signed a new omnibus. It was a new crime bill, the omnibus crime bill of 1997, which increased all these penalties for drug crimes. And it just so happened that November, I got busted with 40 pounds of marijuana. So it was instant first degree charge, you know, like a rape, murder, kidnap. I was facing the same exact punishment that a rapist and a murderer would. And as far as I was concerned, whether it's one joint, 1 pound of marijuana, or 40 pounds, nobody should be going to jail for a plant. You know, and that's how I looked at it. And prior to that arrest, though, I'd already been calling myself New Jersey Weedman. Matter of fact, officially, I started calling myself New Jersey Weedman back in like 1997. It was my first AOL account name. You know, who remembers when AOL first came out? The disc you got in the mail. Well, I was NJ Weedman. You know, and even at that, I didn't even name myself. When I hear this, how many people know I used to be a coast-to-coast truck driver? And I'm proud of the fact that I was a smuggler. In fact, in my book, I have a whole chapter on just coast-to-coast trucking, hauling weed back and forth from the Mexican border to several cities on the East Coast. Well, these Mexican guys that used to get marijuana from in Tucson at one point tried to give me some bricks of something else. I believe it was cocaine, it could have been heroin, I don't remember, but they tried to give me some bricks of something, I didn't want it. And they kind of joked about it, like, he just wants weed, man. They were fronting me weed, I'll admit. I had a few dollars, was buying what I was buying, putting it on my truck and driving it back to the East Coast. And hey, capitalism, that's how I felt. You know, economics 101, it's cheaper over there, you get it here, and you know, you make a couple dollars. And that's what I was doing. with a truck, a tractor trailer, back and forth across the country. With these Mexican guys, they started calling me New Jersey Weedman first because I would only carry weed. You know, even when they fronted me some weed, even when they tried to front me things, I would only carry weed. And that's also the danger why of what goes on the streets too, because just like marijuana should actually, I've always still thought marijuana should be legal, even though I trafficked in it like it was a drug. I always hated calling it a drug. You know, who here calls marijuana a drug, really? You know, nobody calls marijuana a drug. It's a medicine, it's ganja, it's herb. Let's hear a couple of other names. Just throw some names out.
We can always call
reefer.
We can always call
Sheba.
Listen, we can always call Chris Christie.
Kali.
Chris Christie's a fucking dope.
He is a dope. You know, but I don't know. Again, getting back to the whole weirdo to the hero thing, times have changed, you know? In 1997, 1998, standing out on the side of the road in Camden County with signs saying, legalize marijuana. I get cars go by and blow the horn, but I also get the car to go by and give me the finger. I get the, you asshole. I never get that anymore. Now, I get, yo, dude, I got a dude. You know, I get that now. Hey, can I have your autograph, man? I see you in the paper all the time. You know, I thought I was a progressive thinker then. I really did. You know, whereas the system thought, you know, I was being a weirdo. The idea of legalizing marijuana, I think, has always been there. Most people think it never should have been legalized, illegalized. Everyone knows how marijuana became illegal. A lot of it had to do with racism. A whole lot had to do with racism. Even the name marijuana was transformed from hemp, cannabis, to marijuana in a way to stigmatize Mexicans and this drug that came from Mexico, this new drug, and it was just a way of making that substance illegal through racist reasons. Also, economically, the whole hemp movement. I talk about marijuana more, but hemp, marijuana, it's all part of the same fight. The legalization of industrial hemp is just as important as stop putting people in prison. You know, and that's another reason why marijuana was originally made illegal, because of the industrial interest in this country that didn't want hemp to be the star product. They wanted oil products to be the star product, the money. That's where the money was being invested at the time, at the turn of the century. But anyway, for whatever reason why, I've always thought the laws were wrong. How many people here always thought the laws were wrong? You know? When Sanjay Gupta came out and said he's been lied to, how many really thought, so the fuck what? We've all been lied to, you know? And who thought that, you know? I always thought that, like, come on. Sanjay, you believed it though. You know, most of us didn't believe it. You're supposed to be the smart one. You believed it for real? Like he came out like, I just realized that they've been lying to me. Dude, come on. You know, I want Sanjay to come out and start talking about releasing people from jail. You know, it's all good. You know, it's all good to talk about, you know, that he's wrong. He's wrong. Go for it, pie man.
Listen.
I'm going to throw a pie at you.
Hey, we get a pie fight.
Say that again?
We get a pie fight to raise money for a cause, maybe. We can do that.
There
anyway,
we go.
Jesus. To go back to the Sanjay Gupta, I think we should issue a call on Facebook. Surely, free our prisoners of weed.
I think he does get. I've seen people writing blogs and stuff calling for Sanjay to come out for releasing prisoners.
I also believe in reparations.
I wish that could happen. Trust me, I had. Wait a minute, you're getting me off topic, but all right. I did 17 months in Riverfront State Prison. I did 5 months in Burlington County Jail for making commercials. I did 17 months in Riverfront Prison for conspiracy to possess marijuana, so I actually didn't even have the marijuana. I just did 270 days for possession of a small amount of marijuana. So I would love reparations. Let somebody pay me for that time.
Because I looked at
I can never get that time back, no matter what happens. If tomorrow they legalize marijuana, I still never got that time back. And all the issues and hardships that came from that time.
What I'm using as a precedent is the fact that people who were in prison for the Nazis in World War II were collecting reparations. I feel that
we gotta get it legal first, man. We gotta get it legal. We gotta get it legal first before we start talking about that.
And then we start shaking them down for reparations.
Right. I've always called myself a peaceful, proud, patriotic pothead too. You know, the word pothead's never bothered me. Who here calls themselves a pothead? All right. And most of the time, if you refer to somebody as a pothead, you refer to them in a good way too, right? You know, you don't be like, oh, you pothead. You're gonna thank you. You know, I don't know. I've always been out of the cannabis closet too, you know. As a teenager, I smoked weed. All my friends knew I smoked weed. When everyone started pulling out 40s of OD, I pulled out some papers of Easy Riders, you know. I never thought anything was wrong with being a pothead. And the one thing I'm glad is happening now is so many other people, all of you, are out of the cannabis closet and you're here. Next year there's going to be another event. There's going to be a whole lot here. In between now and next year, there's going to be all kinds of events around the state. The issue of marijuana legalization has become mainstream. Every single newspaper in the state's writing about it. Christie's getting a bad name nationally because of his cannabis policies. For instance, I'm actually hosting it, on 420 here in Trenton. I'm having a 420 event, a protest against Christopher Christie's cannabis policies and utilizing the whole stoner holiday, you know. So I hope everyone here shows up on 420 in Trenton. You can go to my Facebook and get the exact details. And Christie has put himself on a pedestal as against any change in the marijuana laws. Now, first of all, he set himself up for failure because, you know, he's got a mountain of momentum on the marijuana side coming down on him. You know, like California, Colorado, Washington State have made such eye-opening statements to the rest of the country that they can't ignore it. You know, even recently, we know here in New Jersey, we have our own legalization bill, but they're all watching the money. The money's being made. Hey, if they legalize it because of money, I'm not even mad. I'm not mad, as long as they legalize it. As far as I'm concerned, taxation instead of incarceration too. You know, once again, I would much rather have paid tax on that marijuana that I got found guilty of conspiring to get. Woo! Everybody does that too, by the way. You can always be found guilty of conspiracy. Every single person in here. You know, that conspiracy charge is bad, man. I went to jail for a conspiracy charge, not for weed. I didn't have weed. So when you make that phone call, go for it.
You know, conspiracy means to breathe together. Literally.
Well, I went to jail because I had a conversation with this one, and I knew this one that had more money, and that one had more weed, and I put them all together. And next thing I know, I got a conspiracy charge. I didn't even get broke off right, and I was in jail. You know, I was supposed to get something out of that. I got like 17 months. I'd much rather have paid taxes on it. Hey, who would pay taxes on weed? Like, just straight up pay taxes. Just, I'll pay. Would you pay in January every year? April. Make it April 20th. Every April 20th, you pay your $420 to the state of New Jersey, and they give you a piece of paper, and you just say, yo, I got my weed card. I paid my taxes. That's all you really need. We can legalize weed real easy. All the potheads, we're the only people that scream tax us. Tax me. You know? And you should blame anybody who doesn't pay for their weed tax as being the problem. They should pay the weed tax. Get the money into the system, and the system will pay us with our freedom. And that's what's slowly happening anyway. And Steve Bloom is in the house. gotta tell you, Steve Bloom was one of them guys I used to read everything he wrote in High Times magazine. I follow a lot of it. He's a hero to me. You know, I was happy a couple years ago. He put me on his Stoners Busted. I was like, I made it. I was on Steve Bloom's list. I got busted and he had me on Celebrity Stoners. Yeah. I was like, oh man, good thing I'm on Steve Bloom's list. I got busted. I just had to pay bail. I sat in jail for 4 or 5 days, and the first thing I saw when I got online was I made it to Steve Bloom's Celebrity Weed Bust. I made it. What's that?
Now Chris Goldstone.
Oh yeah. Chris is a good guy too. Calling myself NJWeedman.com. You know, publicly I've been calling myself that since the 1990s for publicity's sake, to get people to go to my website. I even legally tried to change my name to NJWeedman.com 3 times. All 3 times the government would not let me change my name to NJWeedman.com. Like, why not? Can anybody guess?
Because it said weed.
The first time the state of New Jersey said I couldn't change my name to NJWeedman.com because they didn't want to open the Pandora box on other people wanting to name themselves after drugs. They didn't want Cocaine Man, they didn't want Heroin Man. They would have had Cat Man. They said that if they allowed me to do that, that I was branding myself a criminal name, and I would use my name, NJWeedman.com, to sell marijuana, which was illegal. I was already selling marijuana. It didn't make sense. I told them the real reason why. The real reason was that I was trying to use my name, NJWeedman.com, to bring public awareness to an issue that I felt strongly about. I was using the First Amendment. I was using every time the press would write about me, they would put my name, Robert Edward Fortune. Nobody even knows my name anymore because I always used NJ Weedman. But at the time, that was the purpose of what I was doing. I was trying to use the press. I knew at the time, when the internet first really started, do you know at first, anytime they wrote a name, you could hyperlink. At first, you didn't hyperlink the names. None of the names were hyperlinked. Now all the names are hyperlinked. And I was figuring I was getting ahead of the curve by calling myself NJWeedman.com. And every time the press talked about me, NJWeedman.com, it would be getting advertisement that I couldn't afford. If a newspaper put out a newspaper article and had NJWeedman.com in it, and they had a subscriber list of 200,000, that meant 200,000 people possibly could click on my name and go to my website. So it was an economic thing I was trying to do. They wouldn't take that as a valid argument. That was a valid argument. To this day, people pay a lot of money for websites. And since then, there have been a few people who've named themselves a .com or a .org. Got you. Let's see. I've always called myself a legalizer. And as a legalizer, I always believed in total legalization, whether it be for spiritual use, for medical use, for social use. I don't like using the word recreational, so I call it social use. I've been considered a one-issue activist. I've always disputed that. I think this one issue encompasses so many other issues that, it's only righteous to embrace the legalization of marijuana issue. I mean, it goes to homelessness, it goes to the victimization that you get from law enforcement after you suffer an arrest. You get that big F on your forehead for felony, so every time you walk in to get a job, as soon as you put the F down, no job. It goes so far. The fact that marijuana, how many people go to jail, not even for possessing marijuana, but for violating some condition of parole or probation because they peed in a cup. And again, it's for this simple plant. In New Jersey, 22,000 New Jerseyans go to jail every year for a plant, or at least been arrested. All of them don't go to jail, but 22,000 New Jerseyans go to jail. get arrested, have their lives turned upside down for marijuana. I think it was a righteous cause. I always thought it was a righteous cause to speak out against that. And I've used myself a few times, and I can get into details about some of them fights and some of them arguments. I talked about my New Jersey appeal right now that I think is going to change the law. I want people to go to my website, njweedman.com, and I actually have a link to a legal argument that's right now before the New Jersey Appellate Court. I think I'm going to get to talk about that a little bit later with the banquet that's going on. Oh, that's another thing. Last thing, I'm done. I've never been a suit and tie guy. I don't know why. Suit and ties to funerals and weddings. Other than that, I'm like this most of the time. Tonight was supposed to be a benefit for me. I really thought about wearing a suit and tie. I was like, no, I'd be betraying myself. So, I don't know if you noticed that this is the way I've always felt about the marijuana laws. Fuck the law, smoke it anyway. So, there's a meaning why I wore this shirt tonight. And I believe this is the way we're ultimately going to win the war on marijuana anyway. As we just disregard what the government thinks about it, we feel it should be legal. We came out of the closet about it, and we're demanding it. So I hope all of you come to 420, April 420. There you go. April at 420, April 20th at 420 at the Trenton State House. All right. Peace.
Marijuana. I want to be a runaway guy to leave home for marijuana. Remember the teeny bob sniffing airplane glue? Marijuana. He used to freak out in Central Park Zoo for marijuana. I want to get high, but I never knew why. Here comes the car, but I got to say goodbye for